I am delighted to see all of you here this morning as we convene for the 2022 Mayor's Small Business Conference. This morning is a treat because we will have speakers from agencies that have information and resources relevant to you and your businesses. We will begin the morning with a welcome and a greeting to all of you from our mayor, Mayor Van R. Johnson II.
I am so honored to have the opportunity to be here with you, such an opportunity to see you and not be on Zoom. Anybody happy about that? Yeah. And so it certainly speaks to the resiliency of our community. It speaks to the resiliency of each of you. You have certainly witnessed some of the most challenging times ever. You have watched and looked at hell right in the face, and yet you have persevered. Give yourselves a big round of applause for that. I would be remiss if I did not mention those whose shoulders I stand on. Our 64th mayor of our city is here in the person of Dr. Otis Johnson. He is the busiest 80-year-old I know. And I think it's only full circle that he is here because under his administration, we started this mayor's small business day to recognize small businesses. And we stopped in 2010. Well, we started in 2010. We stopped in like 2015. And just, when it's a good idea, it's a good idea. And so this is an opportunity for us to be able to embrace you, to bring you together. We don't have a whole lot of money, but we have a whole lot of convening power. We have the ability to bring people together. And so I hope that you will use this opportunity of convening to be able to get together to celebrate. Nobody knows what it's like to own a small business unless you own a small business. It's more than a notion. And folks, they don't realize you work harder in a small business than if you're working for somebody else. Anybody agree with that? Yeah, so we want to be able to bring you together to convene, to have the opportunity to share war stories and how you go through. Also to share wonderful resources for the great folks on my left and the right. And if you did not know, we are offering money for those that are affected by COVID-19 in our Small Business Recovery Fund. And I'm sure Marronde and team, Savannah, will help you with that. And so we want to make sure you do that. I certainly want to thank Manny, Dominguez, and our entire economic development team. Would y'all all stand, please? Y'all give them a round of applause. So we thank them for, y'all do better than that. Yeah, thank you. And we appreciate them. I come and do the welcome, but they do really all of the work. So I appreciate you all for that. Our assistant city manager, Heath Lloyd, is here as well, so we're glad to have him. When we look at where we are and look at where we're going, we know that we still face some uncertain times as it relates to small businesses in our community. We know that the reason why Savannah was able to rebound so well from this pandemic was because of our small businesses. Yeah, we have very, very big industries, but we know that the cog in the middle of our wheel is small businesses. And so that's why we're so happy to be able to support you in any way we can to make sure that you do well. We know when small businesses do well, we know that our community does well. And it's been a hallmark of this administration as we talk about equity and inclusion. We're so glad to have partnered with the Greater Savannah Black Chamber of Commerce and the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, as well as we talk about bringing more voices, bringing more businesses to the table. We recognize that we have to lift all, everybody say all boats, and that's what we're working on and trying to do. So as we move from here through our next years that we will do this conference, certainly if you have any suggestions of way we could improve this experience, please let a member of our economic team know. Finally, just some things, and it will be talked about and drilled down upon, but we've been really looking at businesses, and we're hoping to be able to share some of this information that between 2019 and 2021, we have 10.6 million job openings. And of this 10.6 million, 6.4 million are new jobs. Anybody having a problem finding folks? Anybody? Y'all only ones? It's like the folk done disappeared. It's like all the stimulus money's right. Where are y'all? They have. And so we've seen 3.9 million fewer jobs, and of those 3.9 million, 2.3 are female employees. We also have fewer immigrants working our country right now, and so there are 3 million less visa holders than there were prior to the pandemic. 90% of the people who left the workforce who are over 55 years of age. Those are the folks with the institutional knowledge. They're the older folks, but they're also the folks that knew what was going on and where they were at. They're just like, we're out, bye, deuces, we're gone. And so that's a challenge for you because as we know, millennials are different. They're different. They love you, but they're not loyal to you. What? True story, I was talking with a young man about coming to do some work, intern with the mayor's office, and he was, talking to me, and he's like, yeah, well, I could do that. Well, when I need to be? I said, well, probably about 8. He said, well, I can't do probably until about 11:30. And I can't do Fridays, and I can't do Mondays. I'm like, because of school? He's like, no, because I just go and hang out with my friends. I mean, truthful. And guess what? They're telling you the same things too. So if you're going to be a business that's going to survive, you're going to have ways of understanding this demographic and understanding what motivates them and understanding how to engage their immensely bright minds because they're brilliant, beyond brilliant. And so you have to get them, love them while you got them, and then don't be mad when they're gone. And so you have to figure out a way to be able to deal with that pipeline. We have a 34% increase in gig workers, which means individuals who work 2 or 3 different jobs at the same time. And so there is also an increased need for sensitivity as it relates to mental health. We've come through trauma. And so we have to look at being able to deal with those issues. So again, this is a great opportunity for us to get the information that we have, certainly connect you. 2 terms I want you to remember, and 2 that I like to use. One is that your network is your net worth. So there are people in this room that you need to know, and we want you to know them, connect with them, people you can do business with to help you do your business better. And secondly, your success lies in your succession. In your succession. What happens if you get sick? What's your game plan? You can't have anybody in your company that you can't live without. Because when you can't live without them, you won't live without them. So again, so glad that you're here with us. Thank you so much for honoring us with your time. We know that your time is important. And we are hoping that we can continue to be better partners with you as we move forward in the days and weeks ahead. So God bless. Enjoy your day. I'm running back and forth doing some mayor stuff, but I'll be back in time for our guest speaker. So God bless. See you all a little bit later.
Thank you, Mayor. Now we would like to invite the Department of Economic Development's Director, Manny Dominguez, to provide you an overview of what you can look forward to today.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you, Marronde. Thank you, Mayor, so much for not just those words, but your leadership in bringing this great event back. We're so happy to be able to bring folks in person. It's tough to do business over Zoom, and it's been, I know, a tricky couple of years. So Today's theme is business unusual, and I think we can all agree, certainly the last few years have been pretty unusual, and probably the next few years as well, right? We know that things are always going to be a little different. There's been some opportunities because of the pandemic. We've had to learn some new technology. We've had to learn how to work with folks remotely. And all those skills you've built up over those couple of years, I think, hopefully you'll be able to translate into new opportunities going forward. And if anyone can do it, it's you all, the entrepreneurs, right? That is what you do. You see something that's broken, you see something that remains unfilled, and you adapt to fill those gaps. So again, thank you, Marronde, and the rest of the team for putting this together, and thank you all for being here. So Marronde gave me a tiny little job this morning because she thought I couldn't mess it up. Just watch. Careful, Marronde, careful what you wish for. So my role is to sort of do a little bit of logistics and walk you all through our agenda for today. So when you walked in, you should have gotten one of these folders. And you'll see an agenda. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. It's on there. We have some incredible partners and leaders in this community that are going to be part of various panels, we have a fantastic keynote speaker, and a lot of folks that are really going to bring, hopefully, a lot of knowledge, a lot of information, and hopefully some questions for you all to answer as we go forward. As far as logistics, I already got the first thing wrong when I talked to Marronde earlier. I said, where's the women's bathroom? It's not over there, it's over there. Women's bathroom over there, men's bathroom over there. Breakfast will be available until 9:30, so if you haven't gotten a chance yet to enjoy, please do so. We will have a bit of a break around 10:30 for hopefully you all to sort of come together and network. This is a networking opportunity. It always has been the focus of this event, is networking and meeting folks. So please take that opportunity. We have some fantastic partners on either end of the room. Please, if you get a chance, talk to the folks at SBAC. We have folks from the SBDC. We have folks from the city and our purchasing department, and a whole host of other folks here that are offering their services, information, can answer questions that you all may have. Please take an opportunity to connect with them, exchange business cards, some really good opportunities to work, not just with the city, but with some of our other partners that are doing some amazing work. So thank you all for being here, our partners. We're going to have a workforce roundtable led by the city's HR director, and we have some great panelists for that event. And Small Business Spotlight, which is my favorite part of whenever we've done this event in the past, is really highlighting some of the small businesses that have really gone above and beyond and done some fantastic work. Then a luncheon, right? So that, again, is another networking opportunity. Please take advantage of that and meet with folks and try to meet someone and a few people you haven't worked with before. We've all sort of been siloed and in our corners, so please come back together and use that opportunity. Marronde, what did I miss? What did I miss up? I'm good? All right, survived. Well, thank you all again for being here, and I'll pass it off to Marronde for our next part of the event. Thank you.
This is our city manager's first Mayor Small Business Conference with us, and so we are delighted that you joined us this morning. Please.
Thank you so much, Marronde. Thank you. It's an honor to be here. I'm Jay Melder. I'm the city manager. I've been here for about 8 months. I'm thrilled to be here, and happy to be here at the Mayor Small Business Conference. Small businesses in Savannah are no different than small businesses everywhere. They're the backbone of the economy. When your small business is thriving, that means that our Our workforce and our households are thriving. Our schools are doing better. Our communities are safer. Our streets and parks are more prosperous and filled with people having a good time because they feel good in what they're doing. And oftentimes, as entrepreneurs, you're way ahead of the government. You're moving quickly. You're flexible. You're innovating and bringing new opportunities to this community. And we need to be here to respond to your innovation and to your entrepreneurship to make sure that we're doing what we need to do so that your business can thrive and that your employees can thrive and that your customers can get what they need from you. I have a phrase and a philosophy as a city manager, and it's that the city's here to be a force multiplier in everything that we do. And for small businesses, that's true as well. We want to be a partner in your work and to make sure that you can get from us whatever you need to be successful. We want to be a force multiplier in your business. We want to be that silent partner that helps you succeed. Because when you succeed, our community succeeds, and we need you to succeed, especially our small businesses. There's a lot of focus on some of the big industries in town and some of the big players, and that's really great. But there's more small businesses than there are big businesses. And those small businesses are the things that make those big businesses run as well. So I hope that you'll reach out to our team, Manny and Marronde. We've got Judy Jones here as well, and all of our folks from development services or licensing, economic development, anything that you need. We want to be here for you. If you've got an innovation or a system you need to work better for you, let us know. Tell us. We want to make the changes that are necessary for your businesses because, again, we want to be that silent partner with you. We want to be a force multiplier for your business. And we're dealing with the same workforce issues that you are. So we want to learn from you as well to make sure that our city staff and our city offices have got the best people in them and doing the best work possible and making sure that our employees are empowered to make decisions for you on your behalf so that you can get the things you need to keep your business moving. So again, thank you so much for coming today. It's an honor to be here to bring greetings. I don't want to stand in the way of lunch. But please know that my door is always open for you. The city's here to be a partner in your business. Thank you, and I wish you all the best success this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. It is a pleasure to have you join us today. Now we would like to debut a new segment that will be running on our government channel. It is a new segment that will feature and highlight our small businesses that are making a difference in the community. They are running successful ventures. We want them to be an inspiration, some motivation, and just be aware of what some of our businesses are doing. So with that said, today's Small Business Spotlight is not covering just one small business. It's covering two. We would like to introduce to you S&S Supply 2, which is a minority business, a DBE business that is a construction supply company run by Mrs. Shawana Marshall, and SC Datacom LLC, run by Ms. Colleen Ford and her daughter, Elena Meyer, both a woman-owned business. These businesses are doing dynamic things, and fortunately, we've had the opportunity at the Department of Economic Development to work with them. So without further ado, S&S Supply and SC Datacom.
We started the business in 2013. We are a security integration company, so we do commercial security solutions, which includes video surveillance and access control and low voltage cabling. What we really pride ourselves on is the enduring customers. We have a couple of local customers that we're proud to call customers of ours. That includes Georgia Ports Authority, the City of Savannah, Savannah-Chatham County Schools, and a couple of the hospital systems here in Savannah.
I'm the owner of S&S Supply 2, LLC. I provide construction material that includes highway safety material, which includes the barricades, barriers. I also provide erosion control like silt fence, also concrete pipe, precast aggregates, which are stones. For instance, when you look at the railroad track, you see those stones. So those are aggregates. So I provide those as well as wastewater material. So originally I started in 2007 and for about 2 years, and then I decided to go to graduate school. And then after that, I got back into the business in 2014, and I've been here ever since.
I am an Army veteran, retired in 2012 after almost 30 years in uniform as a nurse corps officer, so nothing to do with security whatsoever, but was attracted by my daughter who, after graduating from college, brought her entrepreneurial spirit to me and said, hey, why don't you help me out with this endeavor? She had an interest in IT and technology and needed a little bit of help with the people, processes, business plan aspect that I had from my experience in the executive sector. So I think between her vision and my portfolio of experience, job experience, we made a winning duo.
One summer, I was at my grandfather's house, and me and my other cousins, we were there, and he told us the night before, he was like, you guys are gonna go with me to work tomorrow. And he was a carpenter. And I was so excited. I was about 10 or 11 years old. I was so excited. So I got up early that morning. It was still dark out, and I told my grandma, I was like, I'm going to go to work with Granddad. And so she was like, okay, you got to talk to him. So anyway, he got up, and I said, Granddaddy, I'm going to work with you. And he looked down at me because I was a little bitty thing, and he said, you can't, you're a girl. And I was sad. You know, it kind of hurt my feelings. So from there, I wanted to go into an area that was male-dominated field to show men, women can do it too.
I think that veterans and perhaps women are uniquely prepared for the demands of entrepreneurship. Frankly, we just know how to get things done. And so that combined with a little bit of risk, willingness to accept risk, and a lot of hard work, you can make your dreams come true. So I would encourage everybody to try it. And the City of Savannah has plentiful resources. We're very grateful for the support we've got from the City of Savannah on our endeavors. And there's even opportunities to get a leg up. So there are specifically programs designed for up-and-coming small businesses, particularly those with some particular minority or disadvantaged that meet criteria that can help you get an edge while you're getting started. And we're very grateful for that. We are certified as a woman-owned small business. And in our field, there aren't a lot of women. So in the technology sector, it's largely dominated by men. So we're proud of that fact that we've been successful as women in this field. We also, our business is located in a historically underutilized business zone. So that too is an advantage, meaning that where we reside and where our employees reside is historically underutilized, and we're grateful to be able to give employment to those that are living and working in an area that doesn't have huge opportunities.
The program, the Savannah Business Opportunity Program, an amazing program, and the staff there are amazing. I like when they send out weekly, they send out information about different bids, so we're notified about the bids, and it also have information about like the percentage of the disadvantaged business goal on the email as well. So Another thing that I appreciate about them is the outreach meetings. That has been amazing. You know, really has helped me because when they have the outreach meetings, you're able to meet the prime contractors and other subcontractors. And so after they meet, then we are able to break out and try to form a relationship with them. And you may not be able to be on that project with them, but you may be able to be on another project with them. And I want to say this too. I appreciate the staff that work there because they call and make sure that you're being treated right from the prime contractors and subcontractors. They'll call and check. They're like, hey, Miss Marshall, how's everything going? Are you getting paid on time? You know, just different questions. So I love that because you feel like you have a support system.
City of Savannah and Chatham County are unique in our experience with public spending, and that they also place a real priority on local. The local economy here is powered by local businesses, and people here really want to do business with local companies rather than these big box stores or people coming from Charleston or Atlanta. And that is echoed in the city government. They really put their money where their mouth is there and try to open up opportunities.
It has helped me, you know, with the different opportunities, you know, I have had with the city. And I would also tell them the importance of going to the meetings, the different classes they have, whether it be the website training or marketing training, which is very important. You know, a lot of people don't know how to market themselves. So they even have, in regards to construction, they have construction estimating classes. That's very helpful. So it's very important.
The world is changing, and if you are trying to do something the way that someone else has already done it, you're too late. So if you're looking to get into an industry where you don't look like everyone else, you might be exactly what it needs.
It's been a little challenging, and I'm still early in the game. But I was so happy to be able to purchase a piece of land for the warehouse, thanks to the projects, thanks to the City of Savannah. You know, I was able to do that.
We think there's a lot of potential here, and see a lot of people moving in. You know, the arena and the ports and just all the action, the construction that's going on here means work for us. And I think we have a lot we can do here, as well as growing our federal footprint, because we think there's a lot of needs out there for other agencies that we could support as well.
There's a whole industry, various subcategories of consultants that would love to take your money to give you the same information that is made free by the experts with all of these city programs. And a small business needs to be scrappy and protective of every single penny, especially while you're growing. So use those free resources. They're there, and they are excellent.
It's the inside track, really.
It is.
So.
And the owners and operators of them both are awesome leaders in the small business community. I can't say enough. I believe Shawana Marshall and Kathleen and Elena are both here. If you can stand up, and if your team is here. Miss Marshall is over here. And SC Datacom is over here. Thank you, ladies, for all that you do and continue to do. It is time now that we transition for our keynote address for the morning. I am so delighted to bring to you today a young man who I have known for quite a few years, just a few years, very long time actually. And I am so proud of him. And so when I called and asked him to be our keynote speaker today, He gave a resounding yes. I would like to introduce to you Mr. Robert E. James II. His official titles are, he is the Executive Vice President for Carver State Bank and the President and CEO of Carver Financial Services. Robert is a powerful professional who leverages his experiences in banking, law, real estate, and consulting to provide building blocks to financial freedom at Carver Financial Corporation and its main subsidiary, Carver State Bank. Robert, who was recently named to his current role within the holding company, has led the 95-year-old bank to several accomplishments in his 15-year tenure. Some of those are that he has assisted Carver to be the first community bank in Georgia to ever win an allocation of federal new market tax credits, which they have done twice in the past 4 years. Not an easy feat. They have deployed over $60 million of the $80 million total in new market tax credit awards, creating hundreds of jobs in distressed rural and urban Georgia, in manufacturing, healthcare, small business, and community facilities. They have doubled Carver's Tier 1 capital in the past 12 months alone. He has won over $10 million in community development financial institutions, that's a CDFI, awards in recognition and support of that mission. Created and led Carver's affiliated nonprofit, CDFI, the Catalyst Development Corporation, and spearheaded the first ever all-black bank syndicate to finance a project for a major American sports franchise, the 2021 refinancing of the Atlanta Hawks practice facility. I think that deserves a round of applause. Since October of 2020, he has served as the chairman of the National Bankers Association, which is the leading advocacy group for the nation's minority banks. And in his first 2 years as chairman, he has tripled this organization's size. And technology is failing me right now. Oh, there it is. Oh, mercy. Too much technology sometimes is not a help. There we go. Since that time, he has tripled the organization's assets and revenue and doubled its equity. Focused on the organization on more collaboration between the MDIs and with their organizations, including large banks, fintechs, and government regulators. He has helped to attract over $150 million in new capital to black banks and conceived and launched the NBA's new charitable nonprofit affiliate, the National Bankers Community Alliance. With that much going on, it's no wonder that Robert is the powerhouse that he is. I would like you to know that Robert graduated from Harvard Law School in 1995 and from Howard University in 1992. He is the father to one beautiful teenage daughter and the member of the Alpha Lambda Boule of Sigma Pi Phi fraternity, and a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. He enjoys cooking, travel, being with family and friends. To all, I would like to introduce you to Robert E. James II. Please welcome him.
Thank you, Marronde. Good morning. Good morning. To Mayor Van Johnson II, former Mayor Otis Johnson, to Mr. Melder and distinguished guests, good afternoon. My name is Robert James II, and I'm privileged to represent Carver State Bank at this year's Mayor Small Business Conference. As a son of Savannah, Georgia, it is humbling to be before you today. When you're asked to be a keynote speaker, that means someone thinks you have something important to say, so I hope I don't disappoint you. Special thanks to Marcus-Lotson for being extremely persistent with her outreach and inviting me. Anyone who knows Marronde knows how determined she can be when she wants to make something happen. And so I would also be remiss if I did not express to Mayor Johnson how incredibly proud I am that you have been at the helm of this city during the past few years. Mr. Mayor, your leadership has distinguished you. And I know that your leadership has been recognized on a national level, and I just want to personally acknowledge the incredible job you've done for our city. Now, I also need to make sure I recognize my mother, Shirley Barber James, the publisher of the Savannah Tribune, and the director emeritus of the Savannah Black Heritage Festival. Happy Mother's Day in advance, Mom. Now, I also have to pay honor to my father, Bob James, who has made history in this community, recently marking 50 years in his role as president of Carver State Bank. Now, that makes him the longest-serving African-American bank president in the United States. It makes him the longest-serving bank president in the state of Georgia. Despite some recent title changes at the bank, I know that he's still the boss there, but I also know that my mom is still the big boss. As Marronde said, late last year, I was named CEO of Carver Financial Corporation, which is the holding company for Carver State Bank. We were founded in 1927 here in Savannah, Georgia, by a man named Louis B. Toomer, who was a trailblazer in his own right. And we're celebrating our 95th anniversary this year. For over 20 years, we've been certified by the United States Treasury Department as a CDFI, or Community Development Financial Institution. And that means that we are, number one, a financial institution, but number two, we have a mission to serve an underserved market, that we are accountable to that market, and that we provide at least 60% of our financial services, i.e. loans, in eligible communities. Our target market includes the Savannah MSA and the entire state of Georgia. As one of the nation's 19 remaining Black-controlled banks, Carver has proudly embraced our mission to provide the building blocks to financial freedom. Last January, I took office officially as chairman of the National Bankers Association. The NBA, which was also founded in 1927 by Richard R. Wright, who was a former president of Savannah State University, who started a bank in Philadelphia after enduring discrimination at banks here in Savannah, was founded to be a voice for America's minority-owned banks, representing Black, Asian, Hispanic, and Native American-owned depository institutions, and our shared goal to eliminate the racial wealth gap in America. Savannah should be proud of the fact that you still have a Black-owned bank, and also proud that your voice is being heard speaking on behalf of minority banks and the communities we serve across the country at this critical time. Now, the past 2 years have been remarkable in almost every way. The word unprecedented became a part of our everyday vocabulary. We went through fear of the novel coronavirus, experienced unspeakable loss of life, shutdowns and disruptions in the name of preserving public health, a contentious national election, a violent attack on the very seat of American democracy, economic hardship, and a recovery that has, in many ways, widened the gaps in our society. The COVID-19 pandemic was especially hard on Black and brown people, exposing long-standing disparities in health and wealth. We have seen a nation reckoning with systemic racism and inequality in a way that it hasn't done in over 50 years. Since George Floyd was murdered in plain sight on the street in Minneapolis, many of our nation's institutions have committed, at least publicly, to do something about shrinking the wealth gap and bringing our nation closer to its stated principles of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all. Now, we're learning to live with the pandemic in a changed world and business environment. We are truly getting back to business unusual. We haven't experienced this kind of inflation since the 1970s. Global supply chains have been disrupted. Russia's attack on Ukraine is further interrupting global commerce and raising the specter of a widening conflict in Europe. We're facing a rising interest rate environment for the first time most of us can remember. Housing prices are out of control across the country as demand is outstripping supply in seemingly every part of the nation. It's incredibly hard to hire and retain good staff. Where did all the employees go? Workforce expectations for good employees have changed, and possibly forever. Increasingly, employers have to adjust to the needs of our employees and not the other way around. But we all know about the problems. We all know about the changes. How can we turn them into opportunities? Carver State Bank is committed to doing business unusual, leveraging new opportunities to sharpen our focus on our mission to provide the building blocks to financial freedom. Former President John F. Kennedy once said, "Change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past and present are certain to miss the future." One of the reasons that America is doing business unusual is that for the first time in generations, we have begun to address some of the ways America has done business as usual, which is maintaining a racial wealth gap. We have deep and unfortunately a widening racial wealth gap in America. Just about a month ago, on April 4th, we marked the 54th anniversary of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. In his final speech in Memphis, Dr. King called for economic advancement, and he connected the dots between basic civil rights, voting rights, and economic participation as being key to enjoying full citizenship in America. Unfortunately, our racial wealth gap has widened since Dr. King was killed. According to the Federal Reserve and other economists, in 1968, the median black household had a net worth of about 9.7% of that of the median white household. We've actually lost ground. Now, the median black household has a net worth of only about 8.7% as the median black household. The good news is that many are now recognizing that closing that gap would lift the entire economy. Closing the gap would be good for everyone. As the mayor said earlier, a rising tide lifts all boats. A 2020 report commissioned by Citicorp indicated that if we close the racial wealth gap today, we would add $5 trillion to the U.S. domestic gross national product. That would mean more home ownership, more small businesses, more jobs, better health outcomes, and a more resilient country. Business unusual would be better and a more inclusive path forward. Now, minority banks like Carver, we welcome everyone, but we're very intentional about providing basic banking services to communities that are most likely to be unbanked or underbanked. Our impact, however, has been limited due to our small size, both in total assets and in number of institutions. Racial minorities, including Black, especially Black and Hispanic, are more likely to be unbanked and underbanked, according to the Federal Reserve. Minority banks can be a solution to this problem if our banks can access more capital and scale up. Several studies have shown that minorities, especially Black and brown Americans, are more likely to have bank accounts and access to fair and reasonably priced mortgages and small business loans if they have a minority bank in their neighborhood. It's also important to note that an average of 70% of minorities in the U.S. do not have a bank branch in their neighborhood. At the same time, minority bank branches are located in census tracts with 77% minority populations. In other words, our banks are where the people that need them are. But we just have been too small and there's not enough of us to go around. Minority banks only make up 3% of all American banks, and black-owned banks only make up 0.4%. The overall number of minority banks has declined by 33% since 2008. And among black-owned MDIs, the problem is even more pronounced. Black-owned banks have suffered from many of the same conditions and structural lack of access to capital as the black community as a whole. Of the 4,377 total insured commercial banks in the US, only 144 are minority-owned, and only 19 are controlled by black people. When looking at total bank assets, the disparity is even more stark. At the end of 2021, black banks held about $6 billion in total combined assets, compared to over $22 trillion in total assets in banks in the US. Put another way, black-owned banks only control 27 thousandths of 1% of the total bank assets in the United States. Properly scaled, however, minority banks are best positioned to provide access to capital for minority communities. Prior to the Great Recession of 2008-2009, there were 41 black-owned banks in the United States. The financial crisis precipitated the failure of over half of those institutions. That was because, like most community banks, our banks primarily make loans secured by real estate. But the legacy of redlining and the associated chronic undervaluing of real estate in black communities created lower asset values for minority banks' collateral, which ultimately led to massive write-downs of bank capital and the loss of these banks. But now it's time for business unusual. Fortunately, this crisis that we're emerging from now was unusual. Instead of losing capital, many minority banks like Carver have actually gained capital, largely due to the recognition of our role in historically underserved communities. Now, when bankers talk about capital, we mean what we call Tier 1 capital, not deposits, not the deposits that you make in the bank. Tier 1 capital is the equity that's invested in the bank, and it's the most critical component of the resilience of any bank. It's what allows a bank to grow and scale. Black banks that have historically lacked access to capital markets, and now we have achieved new access to capital. For every $1 in Tier 1 capital, a bank can take in $10 of deposits and then lend that $10 out into the community. So without sufficient Tier 1 capital, not only are banks limited in the amount of deposits they can take, but they're also hampered in their ability to weather loan losses. Without access to capital markets or large pools of high net worth individuals, historically, many black MDIs were forced to exhaust their capital reserves. Now, historically, Carver State Bank has done everything we can within our limited resources to address the racial wealth gap. For us, business as usual has been to have an impact far greater than our small size. You know, we're a small business too. We have 2 locations here in Savannah and a total of 17 employees, including the janitor who comes to clean up the locations at night. But we definitely punch above our weight class in terms of our community impact. As I mentioned earlier, we're one of only 19 black-owned banks in the United States. We're only one of 2 headquartered in the state of Georgia. We are also one of only 2 locally controlled full-service banks here in Savannah. Carver is one of only 4 CDFI certified banks in the state of Georgia. In 2020, we loaned more than $5.4 million in high poverty areas. This was 62% of our loan volume, 40% of our loans by dollar amount. In 2019 and 2020, 99% of our loans went to either minority borrowers, low to moderate income individuals, or LMI community serving organizations. 92% of our bank's customers are African American. 40% identify as female heads of household. And 48% of our bank's customers are low income. 30% were unbanked before they came to Carver. We're the only bank in Georgia, as Marronde mentioned, to ever win the competition for federal new markets tax credits, which we have done twice. And we're the only organization outside of Atlanta in the state of Georgia to ever win this allocation. So we've used those tax credits, and that's a 20-year-old program, by the way. We've used those tax credits to attract nearly $200 million in new capital to create over 1,000 permanent jobs, to finance healthcare and community facilities and manufacturing plants and distribution facilities all over the state, in rural and urban communities. In addition to that, last year, we helped our new nonprofit affiliate, Catalyst Development Corporation, become certified by the U.S. Treasury as a CDFI. Now, Catalyst is not a regulated financial institution. It's smaller, it's more nimble, so it can make smaller loans than the bank, and it has more flexible criteria. Catalyst has already helped some small businesses in our community, like the New Culturist Union, a black woman-owned business, get off the ground. But the need is greater. We need to do business unusual. We have to change. At the outset of the pandemic, the economy was facing a great unknown. The federal government, as well as our state and local governments, and the private sector needed to grapple with public health in a way we'd never have before. We also needed to figure out how to keep people and businesses from losing everything when we shut things down. For many businesses, it wasn't a question of business as usual or unusual. It was a question of whether your business would survive at all. In banking, we had to figure out how to keep the bank running, but also keep our people and our customers safe. We had to step up and make paycheck protection programs along with our partners at the SBA. It was a Herculean effort. A 100% government guaranteed forgivable loan program had never been done before. The SBA would sometimes issue new rules on a Friday for loans that we were supposed to make on a Monday. That's true, y'all. In the first round of the program, no real thought was given to how minority banks like Carver would reach minority customers who were often low-tech and in need of help to get just the basic documents together that they needed to qualify. The big banks ignored a lot of those smaller companies and customers, which meant that minority businesses often got shut out. I remember talking with my dad and other leaders at our bank at the outset of the PPP, and we said that we would make about $2 to $3 million worth of these loans. Now, just to give you some context, that would have been about a third to a half of what we would normally do in an entire year in all loans. We ended up making over $10 million in PPP loans. We started to do business unusual because the need was unusual. We started to change. About 90% of our PPP loans went to minority businesses or minority-led nonprofits like First African Baptist Church. Reverend Tillman was here earlier today. We would have done much more if we could have, but our technology and our small size limited what we could do. Nonetheless, we know that our efforts helped to save many black businesses like Desmond Duval's D&D Photography. One of the outcomes of the murder of George Floyd was very unusual new commitments from large banks and corporations, and to a degree the federal government, to do something meaningful to address the racial wealth gap. There's actually been some recognition that people in wealthier neighborhoods actually have less interactions with police than people in poor neighborhoods. People with more wealth and economic opportunity are overall healthier. And like I said, Mayor Johnson said it earlier, a rising tide lifts all boats. Carver took advantage of these commitments and set about raising new capital. So since 2020, we have more than doubled our Tier 1 capital. And by the end of this year, we will have increased it by 400%. This new capital does not interfere with our governance or ownership structure. We're still Black-owned, we're still locally controlled and governed. But now we have access to new resources that will allow us to take our business as usual and grow our impact in an unusual way across Savannah and the state of Georgia. At the beginning of the pandemic, we started out as a $50 million bank, which is extremely, extremely small by banking standards. We now have access to the resources that we need to grow to over $1 billion in assets by our 100th anniversary. We learned some very important lessons in the pandemic. The biggest one is that we needed to rapidly accelerate our adoption of technology to make banking at Carver more efficient and customer-friendly. We are striving to take these resources to transform Carver from a very friendly, very approachable, low-tech, high-touch bank into a very friendly, very approachable, high-tech, high-touch bank. We've got to make sure that you have access to digital banking services and that friendly customer service that we've been known for. It's no longer acceptable for us to say that we cannot afford the new technology or that our current customers prefer to do business face-to-face. So therefore, we don't need to invest in new technology. We had to change on a dime, just like all of you did, to do more business online, mobile, through the telephone in the height of the pandemic. We had to deal with addressing the needs of our people. We had a young lady who is a critical customer service and IT professional at our institution who needed childcare for her kids when school was out. So we converted the community room at the bank so that she could bring her kids to work with her and do their virtual schooling while she was there to supervise. We did something unusual, and we're going to have to keep doing things unusual. Access, transfer, and learn about their money. Build homes, helping our customers access their piece of the American dream through home ownership and helping to provide affordable housing for all in our community. Build communities, helping our communities through economic development projects and supporting nonprofits for people in need. And build businesses, making more capital available to minority-owned and other small businesses who have historically lacked access to capital that they need to grow. Now, last year, we launched a refresh of our website at carverstatebank.com. In the coming months, you'll see continued improvements to that website and mobile app, including the launch of a Carver-branded mobile app, complete with mobile check deposit. We will also offer online personal loans where qualified customers will be able to get approved in minutes for loans up to $50,000 and be funded in one business day. We will have rich financial education content for both consumers and small business owners. We will relaunch our single-family mortgage business with a focus on first-time home buyers. Carver will make it possible for you to apply for a small business loan online or in person. And I just want to stop here and recognize Mr. Shadar Adams, our loan officer who's back here at the table. He's an incredible veteran loan officer who has been at Carver. We pulled him back out of retirement. We had to do something unusual. We pulled him out of retirement and said, Mr. Adams, we need your experience. We need you to come back and help us. We need you to come back to help all the folks in this room and around this community. So we're really excited to have Mr. Adams back. We're going to increase collaborations with other minority-owned banks like we did for the Atlanta Hawks deal so that we can make more capital available for affordable housing and healthcare and manufacturing and other critical needs in our communities. And so for us, business as usual was to have an outsized impact in Savannah and across the state of Georgia, doing much with very little. Now we have been blessed with more resources, so we are compelled to do business unusual. That means embracing the change, adopting the new technology, finding the talent, and becoming even more connected to the community we serve. It means exponentially increasing our impact. What does business unusual mean for you and your company? How will you embrace the change? At Carver, we're going to do what President Obama once suggested. He said that change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. Thank you for the honor of addressing you today.